Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching PlainSpeak with me, Shivani Gupta. A 20-year-old woman, sole breadwinner of her family, was hit and then dragged for over 10 kilometers by a car occupied by 5 men on New Year's night. Just the horror of the case has shocked the country, coming as it did as every one of us was wishing each other a happy new year. The fact that the victim was dragged under a car for over 10 kilometers on a night when Delhi is supposed to have some of its highest police presence on the road has angered many. But this case is as shocking as it is confounding. Now that it has become clear that the victim was not alone, that she was in fact accompanied by a female friend who fled the spot after the accident and did not do anything to alert the cops, has shocked many again. Just what happened? How did this unspeakable tragedy occur, and what was the role of all individuals at the spot, and what was the role that they played in it? This has now become a mystery even as the victim was cremated today and the police ruled out any sexual assault. The case, the police say, is one of an accident that had a horrible end for this girl. The accused had no intention to harm the girls, nor was there any contact between the accused and the victim in this case. But how did they not realize that they were dragging a body under their car for so long? And where was the police on New Year's night as the body was being dragged kilometer after kilometer? We will take those questions to our experts and guests in just a bit. First, here is what we can piece together as far as the CCTV of this night is concerned. At 1:17 a.m., you can see in this footage, Anjali, the victim, and her friend are actually seen arguing on the road. This is supposedly outside the hotel where they were that night. They have a little bit of a fisticuff and they go at each other a little bit. As this footage plays out, you will see that something is going wrong between the two. Maybe they're fighting over the keys of the vehicle itself. Then at 1:31 a.m., the two are seen leaving the location together. You can see that one of these women is taking the two-wheeler out. Now, roughly half an hour later, they are seen on the scooty in this narrow by-lane. This seems to be a residential colony and the two are together. This is a snippet from 2:05 a.m. that night where the two girls were seen together on the scooty. Seconds later, the accused car, Baleno, is seen coming from the other side, as you can see. Now, this is supposedly when the accident took place because you can see a slipper, maybe two, flying off when the car crosses the road and landing on the street. So you can see in the footage that we will highlight next that there is a slipper that we've highlighted that flies off and then lands on the street. The footage which will come after this, if you can go forward to the footage to the next one. Here we've highlighted the slipper that has apparently fallen on the street. There is another place where something flies off from under the car. Now, the police has told CNN News 18 that they have recovered the slipper that was found on the street. It is, of course, now believed to be the one belonging to the victim. And we know that by 3:34 a.m., the car is seen taking a U-turn, and this is where you can actually figure out that the body is being dragged under this car. The accident clearly happened somewhere between 2:05 a.m. and 3:34 a.m. But that is a long period of nearly 1.5 hours. What happened between this period is another question. Two people have claimed that they saw the car dragging the body. According to reports, one went to the nearby police picket, but that was empty. The second has said that he made several calls to the police. Now, here is what we know. That a call was made to the police station at Kanjhawala at about 3:24 a.m. This is 10 minutes before the car is captured on the CCTV that I just played out. Eventually, the SHO of the police station saw a mangled scooty at about 3:53 a.m. So that's another 20 minutes after that. And finally, another PCR call is received, this time at 4:11 a.m., informing the police of the body now lying in the road. So the car had eventually moved away and the body was left on the road. But the case is clearly a little bit more complicated, and here are the missing links and the big questions that persist. Why did the female friend leave alone post the accident is the biggest question on everyone's mind. The second question that also comes to mind is that if the scooty was indeed mangled and broken and left after the accident, then how did the friend leave? And what was the amount of distance she covered if it was on foot? Did the friend make any calls to the police? If not, why? Post the first PCR call, why did it take the police an hour to locate the body as I've just outlined? And how is it that this body was dragged for over 10 kilometers, maybe 14 kilometers, without anyone, any of the patrolling cops or the PCR vans actually noticing it? And we will try to answer those questions for you. We have 3 special conversations lined up. One with the friend herself, the friend of the victim who fled the spot. She answers on what exactly happened that fateful hour and her role. What did she do? We also have spoken to the male eyewitness who saw the body being dragged and alerted the police and helped them locate the car by following the car. This conversation will answer many questions on why the police took as long as they did to locate the body and the car. And then I also will be joined by former Delhi Police Commissioner Neeraj Kumar, who will answer the questions that are on everyone's mind on the police's role. After that, the big debate is also coming up. With all of these new twists and turns, will the mystery of what exactly transpired, what were the individuals up to, be solved?
उस टाइम पर डिसीज्ड के साथ एक और लड़की थी और उसके मुताबिक ये जो घटना घटी है उस टाइम पर वो थी और उसको कोई इंजरी नहीं हुई थी और वो उठकर वहाँ से चली गई थी।
पुलिस ऑफिसर जिन्होंने जो पीसीआर की वैन्स को कॉल हुए उन्होंने रिस्पॉन्ड नहीं किया। वो पुलिस अफसर जिन्होंने एफआईआर सिर्फ एक आरोपी के खिलाफ दर्ज की। वो पुलिस अफसर जिन्होंने कमजोर धाराओं में एफआईआर दर्ज की कि जो आरोपी हैं वो बच जाए।
ये बहुत दुर्भाग्यशील दुर्घटना है और मैं चाहता हूँ कि पूरी दिल्ली के पूरे देश में कभी ऐसी किसी बच्ची के साथ नहीं होना चाहिए था और जो भी आरोपी हैं उनको कड़क से कड़क सजा होनी चाहिए। एक बच्ची के साथ इस तरीके की दुर्घटना हुई है, एक बच्चे ने अपनी जान गंवाई है, उसके बावजूद आप इस तरीके की राजनीति करना चाहते हैं।
News 18 has exclusively spoken to Anjali's friend Nidhi, who was with her at the time of the accident. Nidhi confirmed that Anjali was mowed down by the car and her body got entangled in the wheels of the car. She also said that she got afraid after the mishap, the accident, and fled the spot, and she couldn't inform anybody because her phone was destroyed during the accident. Listen into more.
सामने से वो कार आ रही थी, कार आते आते हम थे स्कूटी पे, मैं पीछे बैठी थी। जब मेरे को लगा ना कि ये संभाल नहीं पाएगी तो मैं जब वो मान ही नहीं रही थी कि मैं ही चलाऊंगी, अपनी स्कूटी में ही चलाऊं, तो मैंने पीछे से बैठ के मैं संभाल रही थी स्कूटी। संभालने के बाद संभालते संभालते वो भी आगे बैठी थी, वो एकदम वो लड़के आए आगे से, सामने सामने की टक्कर थी, वो आए सामने से और हम भी सामने से आ रहे थे। मैं साइड गिर गई उल्टी साइड और वो सामने बिल्कुल अंदर फंस गई, कनेक्टर साइड बिल्कुल सीधे की साइड फंस गई। वो फंसने के बाद वो चीख भी रही है कि मुझे बचाओ, निकालो। उन दारू तो पी रखी थी उसने बहुत ज्यादा, तो उसने बोला कि मैं बचाओ। उन्होंने उसको नहीं निकाला। उन्होंने जान पूछ के, उनको पता था कि लड़की उनकी गाड़ी के नीचे है।
पुलिस को आप लोगों ने क्यों नहीं बताया सब कुछ हुआ? अगर झगड़ा हो रहा था वहां पर।
से बहुत डर गई थी मैं, उस हादसे से बहुत डर गई थी।
और आप उसको अकेले छोड़ के चले गई थी वहां पर जब एक्सीडेंट हुआ वो बलेनो गाड़ी से?
उसको गाड़ी ले गई थी खींचकर,
गाड़ी खींच के ले गई थी। तो आपने पीसीआर को कभी कॉल नहीं की? पुलिस को नहीं बताया आपने?
क्योंकि मेरा उस दौरान फोन भी टूट गया था। फोन टूटने पर मैं बहुत होपलेस हो गई थी। मेरे को जो ठीक लगा अपने घर जाना। अगर वो हादसा मेरे साथ होता, वो होती, वो भी यही करती, वो अपने घर जाती।
आप अपने घर पे किसी को बताया था? अपने घर जाके किसी को बताया था आपने इस बारे में?
घर पे जाके किसी को बताया था, अपनी मम्मी को बस ये बताया था कि हाँ मेरा एक्सीडेंट हो गया और ऐसे ऐसे हो गया, बस।
Well, that's the shocking first statement that has come in from the victim's friend, and there are many questions on her role. To talk about that and more, I'm now joined by Neeraj Kumar, former Delhi Commissioner. So thanks a lot for your time. First up, I begin by asking you the larger question. Don't you find it problematic that on New Year's Eve, New Year's night, when there is extra police presence in the national capital, this kind of an incident has happened?
Yes, it is problematic. And in fact, I have tried to make inquiries into this matter. What I have come to know is that most of the PCR vans were directed towards crowded areas. And this part of Delhi, if you're familiar with it, this is, large tracts of land and roads and area which are very sparsely populated and in fact fairly lonely. And the PCR vans were indeed not there, not deployed in that area. So it is a fact that PCR vans were not there, and they ought to have been there. And they were diverted towards more crowded areas like malls and marketplaces, because on New Year's Eve the crowds are there and all the merrymaking and everything, revelry happens there. So this is a problem, yes.
No, but added to fact, sir, is also the fact that there are at least two people who've come forward who have said that they tried to alert the police. One person spoke to the police multiple times, but it seems that nobody paid attention to what they were saying.
No, that is not true. Calls were received by the PCR as well as by the police stations, and there were responses to those calls. Vehicles rushed, but they could not locate it. They could not locate the body. So it is not correct to say that there was no response to those calls.
Now, one of the big questions that comes to mind is that how could the accused, even if they were drunk and inebriated, how did they not realize that they were dragging something under their car, let alone a body, for over 10 kilometers? What is your assessment of what has happened?
No, first of all, let us not give them the benefit of the doubt by saying that they were drunk, because if we say they were drunk, they will get leniency from the courts. They very much knew that there is somebody under the wheels, and it was just that they didn't bother. So to that extent, they were culpable, and they have to be charged with culpable homicide. Not amounting to murder, or maybe even murder, because once you know that somebody is under your wheel and you don't stop, it almost amounts to murder. So it may be culpable homicide amounting to murder.
No, and since you mentioned that about culpable homicide, the police initially did not add that section. Do you feel that there is some credence to the allegations that the police did not act properly initially and did so only after media outrage on this case?
No. This is a misconception. The misconception is that as soon as the case is registered, all sections of law should be immediately applied, and all the accused should be named in the FIR, and everything should be in order. All details of the incident should be recorded, etc. It's never like that. First information report is a first information report. As soon as the first information comes, you register a case, and as the case unfolds, as the investigation unfolds and proceeds, additional facts which come on record, they get added, and sections of law, names of accused, other things keep on getting added to the case file, as it were.
Okay. Now, I come to the question of the friend. Now, this is the big twist that has come to light, that the girl was indeed not alone. In fact, she was accompanied on that two-wheeler by a female friend, and she was there when the accident took place. She left the spot. She has now gone on to say, as I've just played, that she knew that her friend was being dragged by the car, but she didn't call or alert anyone even after reaching home. What is the culpability of the friend here?
Well, the culpability is there for not informing the police of the occurrence of the accident and so on. By the way, you are aware that the girl has been traced by the police.
Yes.
And her statement before a magistrate has already been recorded. So she has said whatever she had to explain her position and why she did not do what she ought to have done.
Let me just ask you overall, sir, in your illustrious career, is this one of the most shocking cases that you've seen transpire in the national capital? Just the sheer nature of what has happened?
There is no doubt about this fact that it is one of the most shocking incidents that have happened in the recent past. And a number of things have to be looked into, including the police response to the various reports that came initially. And to that extent, the Ministry of Home Affairs, as you are aware, is cognizant of the situation. They have asked the Commissioner of Police to look into the matter and submit a report. An officer of the rank of Special Commissioner of Police has been appointed to go into all the facts, give a report, which will be passed on to the Union Home Minister. So, who was at fault, who did not respond as he or she should have when the information came, all that will be kind of surface once the report is submitted.
Well, we do hope that certain action is taken. But finally, I want to ask you, as the former commissioner, what do you think are the lessons, the learnings from this case so that something like this is never repeated?
Well, the lessons and learnings, prima facie, I can say is one thing that at the expense of deserted areas, the deployment should not be only in crowded and marketplaces, because the deserted areas are more vulnerable than the crowded areas. Crowded areas, there are so many people who can respond to it. So to cover crowded areas and marketplaces at the expense of the outlying areas is not the correct thing to do. And therefore, in future, the police would be well advised to cover the lonely stretches of roads and land in future. Whenever New Year's Eve or any such occasion arises. That is one big learning which comes to my mind straight away.
Okay. I'll leave it at that. Thanks a lot, sir, for joining us and sharing your thoughts on what has happened. And clearly, there are some errors on the part of the police that will also have to be investigated. I'm going across to the guests who are now joining us. Anuja Kapoor of the BJP, Priyanka Kakkar from the Aam Aadmi Party, Rekha Agarwal is a Supreme Court advocate and activist, T.R. Kakkar is also former Commissioner of Delhi Police, and Namit Saxena is also a Supreme Court lawyer. But I want to first go across to Deepak, who's the eyewitness in this case, who is now joining us. We've played out the interview that the News 18 network did earlier with the victim's friend. Certain questions are answered by what really happened then. But Deepak, आप आई विटनेस हैं इस केस के, आपने पुलिस को अलर्ट किया था. मैं आपसे जानना चाहती हूँ कि आपने क्या देखा, कितने बजे देखा और आपने क्या किया पुलिस को अलर्ट करने के लिए?
3:18 पे सबसे पहले मैंने उस गाड़ी को देखा जिसके नीचे डेड बॉडी फंसी हुई थी और वो गाड़ी कंजहौला साइड से आई थी. उसी टाइम मैंने 3:18 पे दुकान का शटर ओपन किया था, जिससे ओपन करते के साथ ही मेरे को कंजहौला साइड से जो गाड़ी आ रही थी उसकी आवाजें सुनाई दी. जैसे गाड़ी का टायर फटने के बाद चलाते रहते हैं वो गड़गड़ की आवाज आ रही ना, तो गाड़ी ने मेरा पूरा ध्यान अपनी तरफ आकर्षित कर लिया था. वो बिल्कुल मेरे दुकान के सामने आने के बाद मेरे को दिखाई दिया कि इसके नीचे कोई डेड बॉडी फंसी हुई है. बाकी उस टाइम पहचान नहीं पा रहे थे कि ये लेडीज है जेंट्स है, लेकिन ये शो था कि ये डेड बॉडी है इसके नीचे. और मैंने तभी तुरंत टाइम वेस्ट ना करते हुए 3:20 पे 112 नंबर डायल कर दिया था और तभी से तकरीबन पीसीआर मेरे से 22-23 मिनट से जुड़ गई थी.
अच्छा, तो मतलब आपकी पुलिस से बात हुई, क्या आप बता सकते हैं कि क्या एग्जैक्टली बात हुई आपकी, क्या आपने बोला और पुलिस ने आपको क्या बोला और क्या किया?
जैसे जिस टाइम 112 नंबर पे बात हुई तो किसी मैम ने फोन उठाया, मैम ऐसे कोई बलेनो गाड़ी है ग्रे कलर की और उसके नीचे डेड बॉडी फंसी हुई है और वो ऊपर से नगन है, नीचे से कुछ ब्लैक कलर का पहने हुए है और वो घसड़ाता हुआ उसको कुतुबगढ़ की साइड ले जा रहा है, कंजहावला की साइड से। तो तकरीबन उसकी स्पीड में मैंने नोट कर पाया जहाँ तक वो 20 से 25 की स्पीड में गाड़ी चली हुई थी और ना तो तेज थी ना और टेढ़ी मेढ़ी चल रही थी, बिल्कुल स्ट्रेट गाड़ी चल रही थी। तो मैम ने बोला ठीक है, आपसे 2-4 मिनट के अंदर ही जल्दी से जल्दी पीसीआर आपसे संपर्क कर रही है। ठीक है मैम। तो जैसे 4-5 मिनट के अंदर ही पीसीआर का फोन आ चुका था कि क्या बात देखी है आपने, कहाँ से गाड़ी देखी है। माँ साहब मैं लाडपुर से बोल रहा हूँ, ऐसे मैंने गाड़ी देखी है और इस साइड गाड़ी आ रही है। तो जनाब ने जवाब दिया कि मैं पंजाब खुद खड़ा हूँ, हम आगे से रेकिंग कर लेंगे, आगे से घेराबंदी कर लेंगे, कोई वो नहीं है। बोला ठीक है माँ, ठीक है जनाब। तो मैं भी उस टाइम तक निश्चिंत हो चुका था। फिर उसके बाद 3:30 पे वो ही गाड़ी मेरी दुकान के सामने से आगे से यू टर्न लेकर दुकान के सामने से फिर गुजर रही है। तो मैंने तभी उसी पीसीआर को कॉल किया जिससे मेरी बात हुई थी, माँ जनाब ये तो वही गाड़ी आगे से कहीं से यू टर्न लेके दुकान के सामने से फिर गुजर रही है, अब कंजहावला साइड जा रही है, कुतुबगढ़ साइड से। मैं कहा आप कहाँ हो? वो बोला हम आ रहे हैं भैया, वहीं आ रहे हैं, आप वहीं रुको। माँ ठीक है साहब। तो मैंने जैसे अपनी स्कूटी लेके उस गाड़ी का पीछा करने लग गए कि माँ लोकेशन बताते रहेंगे। प्रशासन से मैं टच में ही रहा हूँ तकरीबन जितने टाइम तक मैंने उसको फॉलो किया गाड़ी को, प्रशासन से कॉल मेरी चलती ही रही है।
अच्छा।
और अपनी दुकान से तकरीबन 2 से 2.5 किलोमीटर के आसपास से कंजहावला से पहले उसने ये नाम लेते हैं अपना राइसिंग मॉल के सामने से उसने गाड़ी को फिर से यू टर्न कर लिया है और कंजहावला से अब गाड़ी कुतुबगढ़ साइड निकल ली और मैं उससे तकरीबन 50 से 100 मीटर पीछे था। मैंने उसके साथ यू टर्न किया और मैं भी कंजहावला से कुतुबगढ़ साइड चल पड़ा उसके पीछे। बाकी गाड़ी की स्पीड वही थी, 20 से 25 की स्पीड में गाड़ी चली हुई है। और जब तीसरी बार गाड़ी मेरी दुकान के सामने पहुंची है तो मैंने वहां स्कूटी अब नहीं छोड़ दी है। मेरी वो स्कूटी इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल है और वो ज्यादा भाग नहीं सकती। मैंने सोचा मैं कभी इसको शक हो, ये गाड़ी भगाए, मैं पुलिस को बताने में सक्षम ना हो पाऊं, इसलिए मैंने उसको छोड़ के अपनी उस टाइम बलेरो गाड़ी आ चुकी थी जो मेरा दूध का काम करती है और अपना भाई ही वो करता है, जैसे मेरे चाचा का ही लड़का है। तो मैंने उसका कहा साहिल इसको बंद कर फटाफट और माँ वो गाड़ी गई है ना अभी सामने से, उसके नीचे डेड बॉडी फंसी है, उसका पीछा करवाई एक बार। मगर प्रशासन से बात चली हुई है, पीसीआर लाइन पे है तकरीबन। तो उसी दौरान उसने उसको बंद करके डालेगा, उसका पीछा किया। तो इस बीच तकरीबन 500-600 मीटर का हमारे और उस गाड़ी बलेनो के बीच में फासला हो चुका था। जैसे तकरीबन 2 से 2.5 किलोमीटर आगे जाने के बाद जोनती गांव में सर्विस स्टेशन के सामने से उसने फिर से वहां से यू टर्न ले ली है गाड़ी और वो डेड बॉडी उस टाइम वहां वो गाड़ी से छूट गई है, निकल गई है उसके नीचे से। और उससे पहले कट से ही मैंने गाड़ी को यू टर्न लेते देखा, तो उससे पहले कट से ही मैंने भी उसको जैसे मगा अब इसका पीछा ही करने के लिए मेरा उद्देश्य मैन था कि मैं पूरी एग्जैक्ट लोकेशन देता रहूं प्रशासन को, जो जनाब मेरे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं उसको, या और कोई भाई जुड़ता या मैं अकेला होने के कारण उसको रोक तो पा नहीं, लेकिन पीछा मैं उसका करता रहा। गाड़ी मेरे से आगे चल रही थी फिर दोबारा भी और मैं उसके साथ साथ पीछे चल रहा हूँ
जी। तो आपने
तकरीबन लाडपुर में आने के बाद एक पीसीआर। हाँ जी साहब।
हाँ जी बोलिए, कंप्लीट कीजिए बात।
जैसे मैं लाडपुर पहुंचता हूं तो गाड़ी आगे से एक पीसीआर गाड़ी मेरे को आती नजर आई और उसी टाइम लाइन पे मेरे साथ जो जनाब थे जिससे मेरी बात चल रही थी पहले, माँ जनाब पीसीआर आ रही है सामने से, अगर इसके पास मैसेज हो तो ये इस गाड़ी को रोक सकता है, हम इससे बिल्कुल 50 से 60 मीटर पीछे हैं। लेकिन वो बोले नहीं ये टच में नहीं है और हम वहां से क्रॉस होते हुए बिल्कुल सीधे चले गए और वो पीसीआर भी हमको शायद देख नहीं पाई या हमारे वो इन्फॉर्मेशन उसके पास नहीं थी या वो हमको झूठा समझ रहे थे। लेकिन मैं फिर भी पीछा करते करते यहाँ से लेके बेगमपुर, यहाँ से तकरीबन 10 किलोमीटर पड़ता है, वहाँ तक गया हूँ। 3 पीसीआर इस दौरान मेरे से क्रॉस हुई हैं। किसी ने जैसे वही बात फिर आ रही है या तो रोल घूमने के चक्कर में मेरी एग्जैक्ट लोकेशन उन्होंने नोट नहीं कर पाई या मेरे पास तक पहुंचना नहीं था या वो मेरे को झूठा समझ रहे थे। मैंने लास्ट पीसीआर मेरे को बेगमपुर जो मिली है, मैंने उसको तो बिल्कुल शीशा उतरवा के जनाब का माँ जनाब ये गाड़ी वो है जिसके नीचे डेड बॉडी फंसी हुई थी, आप इसको पकड़ो, और वो वहीं भी वही 20 से 25 किलोमीटर पे चली हुई थी। तो जनाब ने मेरी तरफ देखने के बाद मेरे को बिल्कुल इग्नोर कर दिया है और कोई रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी शायद नहीं दिखाई उन्होंने। फिर वो अपने वहाँ कोई टैक्सी वैक्सी वाले का लफड़ा हो चुका था, वो उससे अपने उनका झगड़ा सुलझाने में लग गया। मैं फिर वहाँ से बड़ी रेड लाइट से 20 वाली से वहाँ से यू टर्न करके मैं अपनी शॉप पे पहुँच गया मैम 5 बजे।
जी। So Deepak, whatever you're telling us is actually quite shocking. There are 3 PCR vans who actually crossed this car while you were chasing this car and were on call with the police and trying to give them the location. And then when you finally stopped a PCR van and told them a body is being dragged, they ignored you and you finally reached back to your shop at 5 a.m. in 1.5 hours. I thank you for joining us and recounting this, because this is a very important testimony as I go across to our guests as well, of just what transpired. You've had the friend who left the spot, reached home, did not bother to alert anybody or call anybody. Even if I take it for granted, her phone got destroyed and she had no other means, she reached home and then should have done something. And here you have the eyewitness who's recounting the horror that for 1.5 hours he was chasing the car and it kept going around and taking U-turns, and 3 PCR vans actually crossed him and nobody had the sense to stop that car. Let me go across to the guests who are joining us. Mr. Kakkar, I'm coming to you first up. After what you've heard from the eyewitness, is there not a clear case of lackadaisical attitude and dereliction of duty by the cops here?
I do not doubt even a wee bit the version of the eyewitness, Mr. Deepak. He has been a very conscientious sort of person who wanted to avert the tragedy. And the version that he saw 3 PCR vans and he alerted the control room at 112, that also is perfectly correct. Therefore, at this stage, apart from the investigation that the police are making in the main incident, I'm sure a parallel departmental inquiry also must have been ordered to
the
find
Home Ministry has. The Home Ministry has clearly ordered an inquiry, and I think that's to look into the role of the cops themselves.
Dereliction of duty of these persons, and if they, and some of them are going to be found guilty and they must be punished. There is no second opinion with me.
Okay, let me also go across to the political representatives who are on the panel. Anuja, what has come to light is quite shocking, and I think we must keep politics aside from this, even as we ask questions of those in charge, and in this case, the Delhi police. What has also come to light is very shocking. While this eyewitness was a conscientious citizen who tried to do his duty, at the other hand, you've got the accused in the car who were making merry and clearly either did not realize or willfully dragged the body, and the friend of the victim who left her and did not bother to alert anybody.
Shivani, my condolences to the grieving family, and I pray to God for the departed soul that it may rest in peace. And yes, very correctly you have said, and you've pointed out the, as a criminal psychologist, even if I look up into this whole matter, the accused definitely knew that they were dragging the body, and the U-turns will help them to evade the body. That is why they were taking continuous U-turns. Have you seen they've taken around 3 U-turns? And why they were on a 20-25 speed? Because of this only, so that the body which is entangled can be scot-free. And that is what was the apprehension of them, that if they will drive slow, the body, they knew the body was there. And that is their modus operandi, which we find at the prima facie if we look into this matter. And the way their body language and the way they were conducting this U-turns was on the very concept of that to take away the body, that the body should be set free. if we look into the victimology of the friend, if what happens is what we call as the victim shaming or the legal process, that is in today's world, people will not believe the victim, and they will say something or the other was there. And maybe we have also heard that as in the process of the investigation which is there, I think their family members didn't knew that they were in the hotel and they were enjoying and whatever the stuff was. So maybe many things were not being known. And the girl was clearly, first of all, she's a girl. And when she went back home, she was like very scared, as she has pointed out by herself, Nidhi, which is not surprising because, the society, how will it look up into it? And she will be blamed. And but if she would have done it, her friend would have been saved. And I think there would have been a much a quicker process somehow.
No, I'm not sure.
Again, we
I'm not sure if fear and shame alone are adequate reasons to not alert someone when you know your friend has been dragged away by the car. I can understand she was fearful. Maybe she had nobody else. She reached home. It's good that she reached home safe. But after reaching home, something should have been done. It's inexcusable, Priyanka. It's inexcusable
Shivani.
What has happened.
Good evening,
all sides.
Shivani, good evening to everyone. Shivani, see, we have a choice here. Either we again wait for a movie, no one killed Jessica, no one killed Arushi, no one killed Ankita Bhandari, Hathras was an international conspiracy, or we fix accountability this time, which we have been demanding from day one. I am actually, it was more than, to me, it was more than meets the eye when I heard the version of the friend. And with Anuja ji supporting her, it kind of cements my suspicion. Why I say this, Shivani, is if I am going with my friend, for example, and we meet with an accident.
One by one. Please, not at the same time. Please, one by one.
Let me. Let her
finish. You get an opportunity. Anuja, not like this. Please, I do not want to raise my voice. Please, not like this.
Shivani, you will have to please moderate.
Yeah, Priyanka, please go ahead.
If I am going with my friend and there is an accident, I will definitely, if I'm not able to save my friend, I will definitely raise a hue and cry. It is not my fault. Why will I be scared? No, there is no kind of mindset that I'll be scared because my friend was getting killed by a car for no fault of us.
No, there could be any number of reasons why she could be scared. I don't think let's not pretend like we can put ourselves in her shoes. Okay, it was an extraordinarily difficult situation to be in. But I still feel as a responsible person, she should have alerted somebody after reaching home. That's all I'm saying.
I'm saying, Shivani, it will not be out of character to ask for an investigation. Why was it not reported? It is important. When we ask for accountability, it is important to question why the 5 accused, which you know of, which the public knows of, are not named in the FIR still. It is important to fix accountability.
No, so I asked, one second, you're mixing issues. I asked the former commissioner of police 2 things. One, that culpable homicide was not added initially, and that there is an allegation that the police were going slow or going soft. He has very categorically, Priyanka said, first information report is first information report. A lot of details can always be added later. Why are you alleging motive at the doors of the police that they were doing something that particularly to hide the extent of this crime? I don't think there's anything to suggest that.
Shivani, I think when you made the eyewitness speak, he told you that from 3:18 to 5 a.m. he was constantly speaking to the police, giving the location.
Yes, and the police was looking for the car. They couldn't locate. No, but you are raising the FIR issue. I'm not sure if the FIR is the same. I have asked the question. Why did it take 1.5 hours for the police to locate the car and the body? That's a relevant question.
Then again, he also said that it should be a case of culpable homicide, possibly amounting to murder in this case.
Neeraj Kumar said that.
Part. He said that. There is another video which is surfacing on the internet, which I think your channel also played, that at 1:52, the car was standing there stationary at the accident spot with the dippers that they were using. There is a video of that too, and nobody's talking about it.
But
it needs accountability.
One second. The fact that the police could have acted with more alertness, alacrity, they could have done something sooner to locate the body is one question. But why allege that they were trying to let the accused go scot-free? That's not true. We don't have any evidence of that.
Possibly. Why? When they're not even named in the FIR. Why do you say that?
But that doesn't mean that the accused have gone scot-free. They've been arrested, remanded.
Do you know, Shivani, that only 2 accused admitted to consuming alcohol and they were apprehended after such a long time that they will never be
all of that is fine. You can say
what,
there was a delay, but please don't assign motives. Yes, Mr. Kakkar, are you wanting to say something?
If you are alleging murder, you will assign motive also.
I would like to.
First of all, this is not a case of murder. This is a case of culpable homicide that has been slapped on the accused. There's a difference.
And even the officer sitting before me mentioned it can very well come in the category of culpable homicide amounting to murder.
Yes, it can. That can all be done. That can all be done, Priyanka. 1 second, let Mr. Kakkar come in. Then 2 of my guests have spoken.
I would only like to tell the lady that please keep it as an incident and don't make it political. Now, as per the question of FIR is first information report. The first information report says that an accident has taken place. As the investigation progresses, law is very clear that you continue adding the sections as you progress. And in this case, now that we know what has happened exactly, this is a case of 279-304. That is culpable homicide not amounting to murder. Now, if somebody tells me to add 302, 302 means that you had planned to murder this girl. You had planned and you executed your plan. Therefore, it is only 304 is the maximum that one can go, and rest is on investigation and prosecution.
Yeah, so I think there are 2 separate cases. I'll bring in the lawyers on the panel as well. One, of course, is whether the police could have acted sooner, could have done something sooner, acted faster. Now, that, of course, the inquiry within the police, department will fix accountability for that, and I hope that they do, because the eyewitness account is very clear. It took a lot of time for the police to figure out. And Neeraj Kumar, who's the former Chief Commissioner of Police, has also told me that it was clear that enough PCR vans were not deployed in this area because it was not a crowded area. More vans were deployed in crowded areas on New Year's Eve. So we have to look into these issues. But as far as the crime itself is concerned, Rekha, do you believe that there can be greater sections added to this? Or will it be culpable homicide not amounting to murder or amounting to murder?
I just heard the other speaker, the former the commissioners, giving his views, and I fully agree and endorse what he said. From the police perspective, as well as from the lawyer's perspective, I would only say over here that as of now, the police has registered the FIR on the basis of the first information that they had. Whether they could have added more sections, whether they should not have added a particular section, all those things are going to depend when the charge sheet is going to be filed in the court. As of now, it is a very, very initial stage. We are at the bare minimum stage right now, where a certain information has been given to the police, and they have registered on the basis of whatever their intelligence at that time, the prime officer view that they had at that time, prime officer, whatever facts that were there before them at that time, whether they could have added, whether they should have not added, this is all a discussion of conjectures and surmises. It is too premature to say what they should have done and what they shouldn't have done. An accident, prima facie, appears to have taken place.
Unfortunately, we've lost that link with Rekha. But Namit, I want to come to you. The police say that prima facie, this is indeed a case of an accident where the accused had no intention to kill the victim concerned. It was an accident and they had no prior connections or contact. The accident happened. Whether they knew they were dragging the body or not, frankly, I don't know. That has been established. It is clear that the men were also had consumed alcohol. All of them are not, again, not very clear. What sections do you think will be appropriate in this case? Because at some point, the question needs to be asked is, could they have not known that they were dragging this body? And Neeraj Kumar, for example, said that the fact that they were drunk could become an excuse for them. Legally speaking, if they are able to prove in court that they were under the influence of alcohol, does that come to their defense, or is that even more culpable then?
See, intoxication, voluntary intoxication is no defense at all. It is only involuntary intoxication, which is a defense in IPC, which is a general defense in IPC, is one.
Okay.
Second, what this police has done right now is police has lodged an FIR under 279 and 304A, which is in a routine manner they do in all hit and run cases. But in this particular case, they, and first information report, this is also settled law that an FIR is not supposed to be an encyclopedia, because this is just the first information which, a citizen is supplanting to the police that,
Fair enough.
that you have failed in prevention of crime. You now detect and investigate the crime and, file a charge sheet in a court of law, competent court of law. Now, in this particular case, see, the moment, the car had the collision with the corpus, it could have been 304A because this was negligent driving and they could have caused culpable homicide not amounting to murder. But if they had intention, leave apart intention that they knew the corpus, prior to it or not. If they had the knowledge, that they have hit, a particular corpus and that corpus is still strangled with that particular vehicle and they still drive the vehicle and, for kilometers at a stretch, then that amounts to murder.
That amounts
because
to murder.
Then they had then they had the knowledge and the intention to, one, evade the crime scene. Second, destroy the corpus so that, that there is no evidence left and leave the crime scene and run away. Now, because they had the knowledge that, the corpus is strangled to the vehicle and they still drive it.
But what if they claim? Now, how do you prove that they knew? 1 second, Namit, how can you prove that they knew?
See, that is why circumstantial
What if they claim that we didn't know, we didn't realize?
That is where circumstantial evidence comes into picture. They'll have to, join dots. For example, the eyewitness, it is now surfacing. Eyewitness, and other evidence also they'll have to collect that on U-turns, they were driving slowly so as to, to leave the body somewhere. They were driving at a particular lower speed. See, all these are, factors which will weigh in calculating knowledge. Of course, they will deny. See, their defense would be that we didn't know. We were under intoxication, and that they'll also perhaps claim that we were under involuntary intoxication and, we didn't know what was happening. But
well, they were driving the car. That's not a defense.
In fact, I'll tell you, in criminal law, there are only two defenses. One, the crime did not happen. Second, the crime happened or not, we did not do it. So they'll take the crime's defense that, the crime did not happen at all. This was, at the maximum 279 and not even 304A because that was not perhaps caused by us. But see, this knowledge, has to be calculated through circumstantial evidence. And that is where the role of the police, is there, because they have to investigate in a manner so that they calculate the knowledge and the intention part of the crime. Okay. Once that is proved that 304A gets converted into 302, what remains then? Yeah. Then they have to be charge sheeted in the 302.
Okay. Rekha, you wanted to come in, you can finish your point, but additionally is my question that unfortunately what has also come to light in this case is that the women who were driving the scooty were also drunk. In fact, the victim's friend has come out and said that she insisted that the victim does not drive the two-wheeler and she wanted to drive it, or she then, when the victim did not agree, she tried to control the two-wheeler from behind. This is a very sorry situation that has transpired on all sides of what has happened. And absolutely lack of judgment on the part of everyone concerned. But does that make a difference to this case? To the accused case?
It ultimately, if the defense lawyer is certainly going to say that this was only an accident in which the victim was also responsible for to a certain degree for the accident took place because not only were these four people in the car, in the vehicle, they were drunk, so they were also drinking.
The victim's mother is speaking right now. We just want to cut across to that. Well, one can only imagine the pain of the family in this case, losing a 20-year-old child who was also, we are told, the sole breadwinner of this family. She was taking care, the victim was taking care of her siblings who were younger than her. They don't have a father has expired, and the mother is now without her 20-year-old daughter. So very, very crushing what has happened, and then the nature of the accident as well. We'll see if we can get more reactions from the family. The family has, I believe, cremated the daughter today, and our condolences go to them. Yes, Ms. Rekha, please continue. Then I have to take final comments from our rest of the guests.
Yes, I would just like to add over here that it is too premature to discuss this incident, the shocking incident which has taken place. Time will tell. It all depends upon what is the investigation that is conducted by the police. It is only an FIR that we are talking about. As of now, Section 279, 304 have been added. But later, if during the investigation it comes out that if the prosecution is able to establish knowledge on the part of the accused, in dragging the body, then the offense is going to get aggravated. And at the same time, if it comes to light that it was a premeditated exercise, in which we will be all talking about something else, discussing an accident, whereas an accident may not have taken place at all. As I said, truth is stranger than fiction. As my humble experience at the bar, we read about all such bizarre things happening. So today what we're discussing as an accident may ultimately turn out to be a total case of a plain simple case of murder.
Okay, so we'll wait and see. We can't speculate at this junction. We can only go by what the police is saying right now. Mr. Kakkar, the bigger, larger question I want to ask you this, I asked this of Neeraj Kumar as well. What do we do to avoid these cases? I mean, there is a serious question in everybody's mind. How can a horror like this play out for well over 2 hours from the time of the accident till the body was finally found on the road, and nobody gets to know, despite the fact that an eyewitness is calling the police and is in touch with them, and yet nothing could be done. This is on New Year's night.
From each such horrific incidents, we do learn a lesson. The first lesson is that don't you take away the resources from the scanty areas to the busy streets. Create something so that every area remains covered by the police presence. And secondly, as I said earlier, I have no defense whatsoever for the lethargy that the policemen in that area who were present showed in this case. And the Department of Inquiry will establish, and they must be duly punished. There is no other way.
Absolutely. Final thoughts from Anuja as well. Anuja, 30 seconds before I go to Priyanka. There has to be accountability set here. That's the only way to set the fear of the law. There has to be some accountability set here, some message sent here about drunken driving as well, especially amongst the youth. I think that is also a big issue that is being highlighted from this case.
Yes, very true, Shivani. I think the accountability set at the society level, how the parents also have to look up at their children. And it is very sad that both the parties were drunk. But apart from this, the accountability has to be set on the police too. And as the Amit Shah ji has already put up a parallel inquiry, if something elapses there, this has to be sorted. And the accused, whoever they are politically affiliated or not, or socio-economic level, they need to be treated as per the law. The accused needs to be accountable. They need to be put behind the law, and they cannot get away with the crime. Okay. And definitely at the last, I would say that the fast track court needs to be done, and a compensation of a particular maybe 25 lakhs should be given to the victim. And this is where
well, unfortunately, we keep demanding fast track courts for all crimes, but we don't have the facilities, we don't have the resources to do that. It's okay to ask for, but every case cannot be fast tracked. We know the case, how long the case is dragged, and that's also a larger issue we have to look at. But I've run out of time. I do thank all of our guests for joining us. I have to slip into a very short break. On the other sides, we'll get you more updates from across the country and the world.